What's up, nerds and nerdettes and we little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G from Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming and my friends. I'm back. I am back. All right. I have something to show you. I got a game that we played today and now we are dying to tell you about. Not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. I may be corrected here in a moment. Duhr, the Lesser Houses. I want to talk about this game after our first try for it. So let's talk first impressions. What's up? We got Alex here. Look, it's my man Alex. All right, so full disclosure, most of the 20-sided warriors are not very friendly about being in front of the camera, which is why you're always pretty much just seeing Alex and Ryan. And Ryan was not around today, so the only camera-friendly member we have available right now of the 20-sided warriors is our man Alex, Oregon Al himself. So, like all of us, this was your first time playing this game.
That's right.
And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. I know the U has a double O sound, like, so Duhr? Duhr?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to pronounce it any better than you are. It's beyond me.
So, social combat game.
Social combat.
Let everyone know what you thought about it.
I really enjoyed it. I mean, we played it with 3. The recommended minimum is 4. It definitely works with 3, but it's a game that would be better with 4 to 6, as they recommend. 2, not going to work with at all. Not going to work with 1 either. But 3 is, I think, the minimum you could really go down to. Great game. I really enjoyed how simple the mechanics seem to be. The mechanics really aren't that complex, but there's a lot of strategy to the game. I mean, we sat here for a while thinking about the rules like, all right, we get how we play this, but how do we really play this with each other? How do we interact? What's the strategy here? Once we got going, I think we figured it out, reasonably fast. I mean, we picked it up pretty quick, but the strategy, I mean, I need to play this a number of times before I really have a clue what's going on. I did like how it was simple there's like 2 types of cards. There's 2 decks of cards. There's scandal cards, and then there's these suspicion cards. And the suspicion cards let you either add them to the other players, or you can use them to trigger powers that you have. And the powers that you have are either on your card, so each player has one of these cards, and that's the house they're assigned to. And their power is down here in the bottom left. And they also have a conspiracy card. And this starts face down, and it's hidden. And it's interesting because at the start of the game, everyone starts out as a favored house. So everyone starts out with these extra actions and extra abilities, and one of those things is they can flip this over and take one of these scandal cards. And the scandal cards are -2 points instead of -1 points, which is what these suspicion cards are. And if you have 3 of these and max out, you become a villain, and that completely changes the game. But it's cool that you have a couple different uses for the suspicion cards. So you can do a couple different things, which I always like when one component gives you multiple options. One card, you can give it to another player and make them closer to losing, or you can do things to help yourself, which is always cool. And then there's finally the event cards. And those all have like special abilities. Like blackmail is you choose a player, they either give you a card, or you get to, you get to discard one of the cards from their house and replace it with a scandal card. So make them closer to being a villain and give them more negative points when it comes to the end. It was fun. We made some deals. Steve and I made some deals in the game, like, oh yeah, we're gonna get John, because we're both like, we're not doing good, because I was already a villain.
Thanks to me.
Yeah, John had like 2 scandal cards. Steve had like 3 cards in front of him, so we're like, well, this isn't looking so good for us. So we had a little secret, not so secret alliance that we made. Then I got to the end and I was like, wait a second here. we ended up switching our hidden goals here. So you start the game with 2 of these. You get a white and a black agenda card, and these give you bonus points at the end. So you choose one of those cards, and it goes face down under your card and becomes bonuses that you get at the end of the game. And Steve had a card that let him switch what our agendas were. So that changed up my strategy, and I knew what Steve had. So I knew as long as he stayed how he was beating me in points. So I was like, well, if John has his agenda, I lose. If John goes out, I lose. So the only way I could possibly win is if John didn't have his agenda and I make Steve go out. So that's what I did, and sure enough, I lost the game for both Steve and I, and won it for John. but that's what I love about this type of game. You know, it's a competitive game. I mean, it was quick. It was what, half an hour, 45 minutes max?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's with going through the rules the first time.
Yeah, I mean, we blazed through this. I mean, again, 3 players, so it goes faster. But I mean, it was great that we could get through the game that quickly. If you're playing with a group of people, you know, you could definitely play multiple games in a reasonable amount of time. You know, you could get 2-3 games in 2 hours easy. Once you know the game, I'm sure you could, you know, get in even more than that, depending on the wheeling and dealing. I mean, with more people, you could also be making all those deals like, oh yeah, I'll give you this card if you don't hit me, but you hit that guy. So that's a great aspect of it. I also like the play rates. They did a great job on these. Here you have the little iconography guide, which is great because you need it. Each of the houses have their own special power, and it's all explained right here. And then this also has the special powers that the villain can use, their actions. The other cards are just like the turn orders that you can make as a favored house, as an unfavored house, and then there's one for the villains, and then there's the back of all the cards is just like a special, the master stroke thing, which again is another thing that you can do with suspicion cards. So, you know, I love the options in this game, and I love to take that aspect of it. We don't always get the most player versus player games out, so I love it when we get a really good one to the table.
So you were happy with the game?
Definitely.
But you feel that it needs a lot more playthroughs before you're...
Mastering it, for sure.
I almost hesitated on saying mastering it because this is not an easy game.
No, and I don't know how much you can really master it because strategy is going to change on who you're playing with. I mean, playing with the same group, yeah, maybe you can figure it out within your group, but once you introduce a new person, I mean, they're going to play different than other people, and, you know, who knows what their strategy is, and, you know, that's always great. That's a great thing in these games.
So how looking forward to it are you to have 4 or 5 or 6 players in this?
I really hope we can get 4 or 5 or 6 players. I hope we can get 6 players, a full group, because this game would be really interesting to see what people do. Because before you even got back to your turn, you could be out with 6 players. I mean, they could each of them throw a scandal on you or some suspicion on you, and that's an interesting aspect to have a villain like right off the bat. And that's another great thing is when you become a villain, you haven't lost. You've just got a different way to win. So at that point, you're gaining points for turning more people into villains. So you want to turn people into villains and hope either have an agenda that you being a villain or whatever your agenda is, you can accomplish so that you'll have more points than the other villains and then beat up on the remaining kingdoms. So I again, lots of strategy, great options.
All right, very cool. That is your official thought. So this game is a positive. This is a thumbs up for you, so to speak.
Thumbs up, quick, easy, small, easy to carry around. Thumbs up.
All right, very cool. All right, now you're gonna wait for my thoughts for a full review. But one thing I just want to say right up front that I found fun about the game is is the theater of the mind. We were throwing in a little bit of a theater of the mind aspect. We were throwing down, our scandal cards. We weren't just like, oh, here's a scandal for you. No, we were like making things up. We were like, oh, well, the apothecary is selling horrible goods. His medicine is actually killing people. So we were making up the stories while we were going along, and that was cracking us up while we were playing this game. And first impression, that really stuck in my mind. Anyway, so we're going to be doing a full product review maybe in the next week or two when we have time. We would love to film a playthrough of this game. But for right now, my friends, I'm your buddy Big John Regine with Two Gun Pixie Presents Legendary Gaming. And my friends, as you know, I am out of here.